Hello there and good day. Hope you guys are having a great one. My name is Tyler Anderson with Scoreboard Social, and we are going to get started here soon with our webinar featuring Stacy Zapar on how to grow an active and engaged Twitter audience. But before I go ahead and turn it over to her, I just want to quickly give you guys a brief, little bit of introduction to Scoreboard Social. We're a simplified social media reporting tool, and we also feature competitive analytics. So it's a great tool for you to go on there and input your Facebook and Twitter profiles, and really monitor any other Facebook page or Twitter profile that you'd like, whether it's a competitor, top brand, or industry influencers. And then we send you detailed, actionable reports that you can get weekly, monthly, quarterly, whenever you'd like, and custom as well. So encourage you to definitely check that out. But we know what you're really here for is to learn how to grow an active and engaged Twitter audience. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Stacy Zapar.
Good morning, Tyler. Thanks for that kickoff. I appreciate it. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I hope you're all ready to talk some Twitter here. I am a big fan of Twitter. I'm kind of known for my LinkedIn, but I am a huge fan of Twitter, and I'm happy to share some of my best tips, tricks, and strategies with all of you today. So hopefully we all woke up and had enough coffee this morning, and we're ready to go. So first off, I'm going to start off with a little ditty that I say all the time, and it's a little bit of an exaggeration, of course, but it's still a fun one, and I like to start off with it. So, you know, I like to say that LinkedIn is for everyone that you know. By the way, I did not make this up. I don't know who did, but I do say it a lot. LinkedIn is for everybody you know, right? Facebook is for everybody you used to know, and Twitter is for everyone you want to get to know. And of course, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, as I said, but it is kind of true. Think about it. You know, there's 500 million users worldwide. There are 400 million tweets sent out every single day on Twitter. It's really a godsend. There's a lot of reach there, a lot of engagement, a lot of activity, and if you can kind of capture that and build that into your personal and professional goals, it can be a really powerful thing. You know, the best thing is when you think about it, LinkedIn and Facebook, both parties have to agree to make a connection, right? You have to send an invitation to connect on LinkedIn, and the person has to agree. Facebook, you have to send a friend request, and that person has to agree. The beautiful thing about Twitter is that you can follow anyone you want to, and they can follow you. It doesn't have to be reciprocated. You can mention or talk to anyone else on Twitter you want to, whether you're following each other or not. These are really powerful capabilities and features on Twitter that you don't necessarily get on some of the other social networks. So there's a lot of ways that you can play up to that and make it part of your social media strategy and get extra engagement that way. I'm going to give you a 30-second history, I promise, and we're going to move right past me, but I just want to give you a little bit of background as to who I am so you know kind of what it is that I'm talking about and kind of my history here. I am the most connected woman on LinkedIn since 2008. I've got about 38,000 some odd first level connections. I've been recruiting for about 16 years now. I've been using social pretty actively since 2004 when I joined LinkedIn, and of course as Twitter and Facebook came along, Google+, Instagram, Pinterest, all these things are what I do. I was very happy to be named number 6 recently on Huffington Post's list of top 100 most social HR experts on Twitter. And ERE.net just recently also ran a report to find out which people are retweeted the most by recruiters, and I was one of those 25 worldwide. So really love Twitter. These are all Twitter things happening. Now I'm fortunate enough to be able to share some of my same successes on social media with other recruiters by running my own company, and I teach some of those same tips and tricks, strategies for recruiting on social media especially. So that's what I do. I have the best job in the world. I love it. And today we're going to share some of those tips with you, whether you're a recruiter or a salesperson or a marketer or what have you. All right, enough about me. Let's look at Lady Gaga's face is a lot more fun to look at than my big mug. So let's move on and talk about that. The very first tip I'm going to share with you guys today is to just be real, be authentic, be you. There is no better strategy on Twitter than to just be yourself, right? And we're going to talk about several ways to do that. So the most important thing when it comes to being yourself on Twitter is to know yourself, know your brand, your personal brand, your professional brand. just another word for saying who you are and how you're known by others, right? Know your brand, and you need to tweet consistently around that brand. So maybe pick 5 or 6 things that make who you are, and you want to tweet consistently around those same 5 or 6 things. Of course, you could throw other stuff in there from time to time, but if your main content is really focused around what your brand is known as, you're a lot more powerful because you're attracting people that have those same interests, that want to talk about those same things. They're going to follow you, they're going to retweet you, they're going to engage with you. If you're spread across 25 different topics and it changes every time the wind blows, then you kind of dilute your effectiveness on Twitter, in my opinion. So I try to be really careful and to tweet consistently based on my brand and who my audience is and what they want to talk about. So for me, for instance, I tweet a lot about geek pride. Yes, I'm a geek girl. I love math. I love science. I love tech. I love, all sorts of geeky things. And for a long time, I kind of shied away from that. But Twitter has allowed me to kind of own that and take pride in who I am. And now I just tweet about all sorts of fun geeky things. And it's a lot of fun, and I've attracted a lot of other geeks out there who like to talk about the same things. I've also attracted a lot of techie folks. As a technical recruiter, this is a big plus, right? So think a little bit about who your audience is, and as you're being you, you might be attracting the right type of folks, not only personally, but for your professional roles as well. I also tweet, of course, about social media. I like to talk about women's empowerment and women's issues and girl power and women in the boardroom and all sorts of good stuff about that. And then, of course, recruiting, being a career recruiter and now a trainer for recruiters, I talk about that. So these are the things that I talk about. Maybe you need to jot down 5 or 6 things right now in your notes that you really like from a personal and professional standpoint, and kind of tighten up your content a little bit and tweet to evangelize and reinforce your brand that already is. Okay, don't just talk shop. I know a lot of recruiters, a lot of salespeople, a lot of marketers, they just tweet links all day to their content, to their blog, to their company PR updates, to their job postings, you name it. And they're just blasting this stuff all day long. It's just shop talk. Nobody wants to follow that kind of person on Twitter, right? There's a prominent blogger in the HR world. Her name is Jessica Miller Merrill, and she calls it her social media mullet. I personally look for any excuse I can to have a mullet photo in any webinar that I do or any deck that I present. But think about it. It's a little bit of business with a little bit of party, right? Party in the front, business in the front, party in the back, right? But think about it that way. If you talk, 70% shop and then 30% personal, you become infinitely more interesting to your Twitter audience. So mix it up a little bit, right? It gives people a better idea of who you are. It makes you interesting. It gives them stuff to talk about. It gets them stuff to laugh about. People want to be entertained on Twitter. They don't want to just be educated. So think about kind of that nice mix, right? All right. Next is hashtags, good old hashtags. I am a religious hashtagger, maybe to a fault. As a recruiter, I live, breathe, sleep keywords, right? I used to live in Paris, and I knew I was fluent when I started dreaming in French. Well, I kind of knew I was fluent in recruiter when I started dreaming in hashtags and keywords, right? So, but in general, I think hashtags can be a really powerful tool. They not only work as a search mechanism, which of course we all know that that's what they do. They're keyworded. They're hyperlinked keywords that work in Twitter so that people can search for your content. This is always a nice thing when you're trying to find followers and build engagement. But think of it this way. If somebody just is posting links all day and there are no hashtags, it doesn't really tell you that they actually read the content. When I hashtag, I make sure I give people a sneak peek as to what they're about to read in the article that I'm sharing or the blog post that I'm sharing. It tells people what to expect. It tells them that I actually read the article and I'm sharing it because it's meaningful or I found it interesting. So the other beautiful thing is that hashtags, I can never say this word, statistically speaking, hashtags get twice the engagement. Tweets with hashtags get twice the engagement than tweets that don't have hashtags. So I think they're the best thing ever, and I use them in moderation. Sometimes I go a little overboard, but that's my issue, and hopefully you won't have that same problem. But a couple hashtags at the end tends to work the best. I think, yeah, 2 times the engagement. All right, moving on.
Hey, Stacy, really quick,
Yeah,
I just want to let people know if you guys have questions, definitely ask them in the chat. Some of you have, and we will make sure we ask them at the end of the presentation.
Awesome. Yes, I apologize. I'm not reading the chat stuff as I talk here.
No, I got it monitored, and I'll interrupt you if there's something that's
Awesome.
urgent.
Sounds good. I am a natural blonde. I try to talk and chew gum at the same time, but reading chats and delivering a webinar is all I can do today. No. All right, cool. We'll definitely get to those at the end. We'll have time, I think. All right. Here's my super secret sauce, my super secret Stacy sauce, whatever. These are the things that I've taught a couple times in my trainings, and I personally think that this is a really powerful tip that I'm about to share with you. So listen up. It's a little bit confusing, a little bit hard to grasp at first, but it's a very cool thing. In my opinion, the best way to attract and follow and gain followers that are really targeted and really engaged and really active on Twitter is to go actually go out to their Twitter stream and find the people that are actively retweeting them, and I will follow those people. I find the people that are engaging with my clones or my twins on Twitter, and I follow those people. Those folks now in turn will follow me back, and I already know that they like the type of content that I share because they're already engaging with that same content elsewhere. So now I've got followers, they're engaging with me, they're retweeting my content, and this is a great way. I'm not just finding new followers or people to follow, I'm finding people that are active, they're on Twitter, they engage, they retweet, they favorite, they share. This is a really, really powerful way to gain targeted, active, engaged followers, not just followers whose keywords in their bio match what you want to talk about. Does that make sense? And I'll demo this at the end with when I do some live demos. But this is a really, really great way. No one else I know is doing this, and it's super easy, and it's great. All right, my number 2 tip, we're talking about 3 areas here that you can drive engagement and gain active, engaged followers. Obviously, engagement is key. You need to be engaging on Twitter. You can't just be, there has to be somebody driving the bus, right? So think about it. It's no fun to talk to somebody and be ignored, and social media is the same exact way, right? Social media is all about two-way conversations. If you're just blasting info, this poor gal, if you're just blasting info in her face or in your Twitter audience's face all day, and you're never responding when people retweet you or they favorite your tweet or they ask you a question or they mention you, if you ignore those folks and you don't acknowledge them in any way, they're going to stop engaging with you. They may even go so far as to unfollow you. People don't like to be ignored. So social is all about these two-way conversations, meeting new people, acknowledging others, passing along great content, networking, introducing people to each other, learning, knowledge sharing, you name it. This is what social is all about. So again, this doesn't happen in a vacuum and through these one-way blasts of information or by ignoring others that are trying to engage with you. All right, if somebody retweets you or mentions you or favorites your content or recommends you on Follow Friday, yes, that's what that little #FF means. On Fridays, they're saying, hey, these are my favorite Twitter friends, follow them and you'll hear good stuff too, right? If you are not acknowledging these people, then you're doing yourself a disservice because you should be going out and saying thank you. You should be favoriting their tweets. If they retweet you or if they mention you, favorite it, at least acknowledge that you saw it and you appreciate it. Go ahead and retweet them. If they follow you, especially if you're fairly new on Twitter, you should absolutely be following back. If you don't follow folks back, a lot of times they will unfollow you. And you're right back where you started, right? Twitter is a very fleeting kind of place. Things happen super fast. People follow, they unfollow. It's not like Facebook or LinkedIn where it's a major production and major drama if somebody unfollows you. On Twitter, I might gain 200 followers in a day and lose 70. It's just the way that the world works on Twitter. So. What else can I say about that? Yeah, and if you're fairly new to Twitter or if you've been, you're under that 2,000 threshold, be aware of that. Twitter, if you have less than 2,000 followers on Twitter, they're not going to let you follow more people till you get past that. So they're going to max you out at 2,000 people that you can follow. So you need to be really careful about kind of working your way up and kind of getting past that 2,000 threshold. Once you get past that, you've got some more flexibility. So if you found that you've reached 2,000 people that you're following and that Twitter won't let you follow anyone else, it's because you're not getting reciprocated enough, and you need to be engaging and following back and thanking people and kind of getting back up there so you can cross that threshold. Twitter does not have to be a huge time investment, but I do, excuse me, but I do recommend at least 2 visits to Twitter every day. In the morning, you can make it part of your morning routine. You check your email, you get your coffee, you're sipping on your coffee, spend 5 or 10 minutes, log into Twitter, see who's engaged with you, see who's retweeted you, who's shared your content, who's favorited your stuff, and thank them, acknowledge them, talk to them, engage with them, maybe find one of their tweets and share it with your network or your Twitter following. Go ahead and spend 5 or 10 minutes in the morning engaging with anyone who's interacted with you since you were last online. Same thing in the afternoon, right? Excuse me. Find some great content to share right before you log out for the day. Kind of go in there, share some stuff, acknowledge people that have interacted with you since you were on in the morning, that kind of thing. So just make it a quick little pit stop as part of your everyday routine as you log in the morning and as you log off in the afternoon. It's great. Maybe you go in at night. You know, what you're watching, you know, your reality TV at night, you're kind of half watching it, half surfing the web. Maybe that's your time to go in the afternoon or the evening and engage with everybody. But 2 times a day, it's a great catch-all. It prevents things from slipping through the cracks, and it really does drive up your engagement. It's a good social media habit to get into. Here's a bonus tip for increased engagement. If you want to be retweeted, limit your tweets to 100 or 120 characters. I know you've got 140 to work with. 140 doesn't seem like that much, especially if you're a talker like me. I could go on and on. But go ahead and cut off your tweets at 120. That way, folks have room to actually mention you if they want to share your content. So they can share your blog title, they can share the link, they can even share a hashtag or 2, and then they can write via @Stacey Zapar, or they could write RT Stacey Zapar and then whatever the tweet said, right? If you leave them a little buffer, they're much more likely to share your content than if you use up all 140 characters and they're only left with the retweet button, or they're having to figure out a way to reword what you said and delete stuff, and all the words, all the vowels have suddenly had to get dropped out of your whole tweet. That's not fun, right? Make it easy for people to retweet you, and they will. As you know, anyone who knows me anyway on this call, you guys know I'm a big fan of networking and relationship building. It's not just about numbers for me. I like to actually engage with my network. I respond to every message in my LinkedIn inbox. I share people's content all day. It's all about building these relationships. It's about helping other people first. It does take some time to build an engaged following on Twitter. I'm not going to lie. It's a longer sales cycle, if you will. It's a longer ROI, but the benefit is definitely there if you take some time. If you nurture your network, you can make it this living, breathing entity. It absolutely can exist, and it does for me. If you're willing to make that time investment, it will pay off dividends, and I'm absolutely living proof of that. So don't give up. It takes time to build relationships with it, as it does in any other context, right? All right, 3rd tip for today is technology is your friend. I am a big fan of leveraging technology to make my life easier in a lot of different ways, right? I've been recruiting for a long time, 16 years, since before we had Google, before we had Monster. My first internet was very much this ugly kind of green screen looking thing. Back in the day, we did not have all these wonderful tools and technologies. We cold called the old way. We picked up the phone and we dialed into companies not knowing who was going to pick up, and we just had to be on our toes. Now we're able to cold call and reach out and network with people that we don't know and get introduced to strangers, but build relationships with new people because of technology. We have so much more reach than we've ever had. So let's use that to our benefit and also use it as a time management type tool. So there are a lot of great tools for Twitter. Probably dozens or hundreds of tools that help you manage Twitter. I'm going to pick 3 of them today, or 4 of them actually, that I am a big fan of, and I'm going to share those with you that help make Twitter easier, that help make it streamlined, that help kind of help with the time management piece. The first, of course, is Hootsuite. Many of you on this call are probably already using Hootsuite or TweetDeck. They're very similar to each other. This is basically a Twitter management tool that you can go in, you can take all of the content, you can sort it, slice it, dice it, only look at people on this list, only look at people that tweet about this keyword, only look at people that tweet about this particular hashtag. you name it, you can take all that is happening on Twitter, those 400 million tweets that go out a day, you can break it down to only look at, the 90 people that are your social media mentors, for instance. I've got a list that's all about the people that have inspired me in the social recruiting world, and there's 90 some people on that list, and I look at that list every day and I share their content. It takes all the people out there and it kind of boils it down. Hootsuite is a great tool for that. What else does it do? It also is fabulous for automation. I think automation is absolutely a good thing if it's not abused. Automation and scheduling, it means that you take 4 or 5 or 6 or however many tweets and you type them up, and they kind of go into a queue, right? They're pending. And throughout the day, Hootsuite will send them out to your Twitter network. So your 10 a.m. one goes out, 11:47, another one might go out, 1:30. They go out throughout the day. So even though you only check in the morning and in the evening, tweets are going out all day long on your behalf that you've typed up, that you've read, the content that you want to share. But instead of cluster tweeting, so you send out 5 at one time, for instance, in the morning and 5 in the afternoon, and anyone who was online in between missed it. This way it kind of spaces out your tweets throughout the day and kind of gives you this omnipresence on Twitter. I think that that's a good thing. As long as you're not 100% automated and there is some engagement happening, then the balance can be a good one, I think. What else? There is a plugin for Hootsuite that you can actually use for Mozilla, for Chrome. There's a bunch of different browsers that it works with, but you can actually, and I'll demo this at the end if we have time, and I'm assuming we will, you can actually, as you're reading an article online, there's a little Hootsuite or little Hootlet button that you can click right on your browser that will automatically pull up a pop-up window with the name of the article, the link already typed in and shortened, as well, and then you can make any notes that you want to make, and you can actually send out that tweet right from that page without having to leave, log into Twitter, paste it in, blah, blah, blah. It's a one-click pop-up window, send, and it will either send right then or it'll schedule it and send it later, whichever you choose. Literally 2 clicks and you're tweeting away throughout the day. This is a very, very cool tool. I'm going to demo this for you, this is all free. Hootsuite is a free tool to you. They do have a paid upgrade version as well that does all sorts of cool things for teams, and it has a lot of analytics and what have you. But if you just want to use it for scheduling and automation, it's great. Buffer is a similar app that many of you have also heard of as well. The difference is Buffer limits you to, I believe it is 10 tweets that you can schedule, and then it maxes you out. Hootsuite lets you go well beyond that, and it doesn't tell you that you've got too many in the queue. So I personally like Hootsuite, especially if you're going on vacation and you're going to be offline for a week. I like to really unplug when I go on vacation if at all possible. I even go to places where I know there's no Wi-Fi in an effort to try to unplug, or no internet. We've gone to Panama, for goodness sake. But if you like to go offline, this is a great way to make sure that you still have an active presence on social media while you're gone. All right, the next tool is something called Social Bro. Not my favorite name, sorry, Social Bro folks, but it is a great tool. It is specifically focused on Twitter followers and following. It helps you find new people to follow, and it helps you manage the people that you're following and that are following you. It's all around Twitter followers, right? And we'll talk a little bit about that. But basically, I use it personally to find new followers based on specific content that I share, keeping in mind my personal brand, the stuff that I like to tweet about. I will go out and find people that like to talk about social recruiting or women's issues or geeky stuff, whatever, tech, gadgets, Apple, Mac, whatever, Java. I like to talk about all these things. As a tech recruiter, it kind of makes sense. So I will follow people based on the content that they tweet about or what's in their bio or what hashtags they use. Social Bro allows you to find people very easily. In my opinion, I like it better than the Twitter search tool that's built into the Twitter app. There are lots of other tools that allow you to find Twitter followers as well. This is personally the one that I like because you can actually highlight the whole screen and bulk follow or bulk unfollow 25 people at a time with one click. I don't like to click, 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 click 25 times. So for me, it makes it very easy. I also use it, again, this is a personal decision, but I also use it to unfollow people based on certain criteria. People who are no longer active on Twitter, let's say they haven't tweeted in the last month. I don't want to use up one of my 2,000 spots if I'm a newbie following someone who hasn't tweeted in the last month. You should unfollow those folks. In my opinion, again, this is a personal decision and it may sound harsh, but I think you should unfollow people who are inactive on Twitter and make sure that you're only following with people that are active and engaged and regularly using Twitter, especially if you're under that 2,000 threshold we talked about. I might also unfollow someone who only tweets in Arabic or Japanese. You know, nothing against Arabic or Japanese or these languages or even these countries. I don't know how to read that, so I don't necessarily follow people that tweet consistently in another language. Social Bro will tell you who those folks are, and you can take a look and kind of see if someone tweets in another language only, then maybe that's someone you don't want to be following because you really can't share their content or engage with them in any way because there's a communication barrier. What else? It's also, let's see what else. There's also an added perk that there is a Chrome plugin version, like we talked about, for Hootsuite. There's the Chrome plugin version is free. The desktop app is a paid site, but if you use the Chrome plugin, it's actually free. And they also have a paid version that gives a lot more functionality. They will run reports for you and tell you the best time to tweet. I'll try to demo this briefly also in just a minute if we have time. And last but the third one here we're going to talk about is Twitter feed. Again, this is a tool that can be absolutely abused if used too much and without any engagement. But I'm going to share it with you because it can be a powerful tool in any kind of social media user's arsenal, if you will. So basically what Twitter feed does, it takes your favorite blogs, the blog posts of your favorite bloggers, what have you. If you can get the RSS feed, you can actually share their blogs in real time as they post new posts, as they share new posts, as they write new blog posts. They will go out into your Twitter feed to your followers automatically. And you can actually set it up. I have a good handful of blogs that anytime, you know, my friend Johnny Campbell in Ireland, he runs a blog called Social Talent. Anytime he blogs, it goes out to my Twitter network because I know him, I trust him, his content is always in line with what I tweet about, I want to support him, he supports me. So long story short, his blog posts go out automatically to my network and I don't have to even do it. It's a great way. I don't ever miss one of his blog posts this way because as it goes out, I'm like, oh, there's Johnny's new blog. I click on my own tweet. And sometimes, is this a best practice when it comes to always reading your content before you share it? No. You want to use this in moderation, right? But there are some people that I know very well, I automatically know that their content fits right in line with my personal brand, and I'm happy to share it automatically. Again, this is a fabulous tool if you're going to be on vacation and you want to have a presence while you're gone. This is also a great tool. Again, if you are only using RSS feeds, and there are many, many people out on Twitter that are, then you are not going to get out of Twitter what you could. There's a lack of engagement if you're just auto-posting and you're not actually going in and sharing content that you've read in real time, adding those hashtags in based on the content, engaging with people, thanking them. If you are just sharing RSS feeds automatically without even involving yourself at all in this whole process, then you are technically a bot. A robot, a bot is called on Twitter when somebody is just, there's nobody there, it's just a computer tweeting on your behalf all day. This is not a best practice, but used in moderation, this could be a very cool thing, I think. Last but not least, a lot of people come to me and they say, yeah, Stacey, but how do I find content to tweet about? What do I talk about on Twitter? You know, how do I find articles to share? I'm going to show you guys, you know, a very simple tool that not very many people use, unfortunately. It's very simple. Many of you may have heard of it, but it's something called Google Alerts. And it is a very simple search tool for Google, and I can plug in the word social recruiting or social media recruiting. Can you all still see my screen, I hope?
Yep, we can. Right.
Okay, cool. So here we go. I like to talk about social recruiting, social media recruiting, using social media to recruit and find candidates and engage with people and find new candidates. Sure enough, what they will do is this tool will allow you to plug in certain keywords, and it will pull up new articles that have just come out. 2 out of 3 companies will be doing more social recruiting in 2014. This is good for me and my business because this is what I train on. Social recruiting in your job search. The Italian startup Risto, how they're using social media and recruiting and training and da-da-da-da-da. Crossing the boundaries in social recruiting. These are all articles that are likely great content for me to share. So I can actually click on these and read them. And I can do it live right now, or I can set it up so that only blog posts or only video are showing up, or anything in the news is showing up around whatever content I choose to share. I can get these alerts in real time, or once a day, or once a week, a big compiled list. I can get only the best results or all results, and they're going to actually email it right into my inbox, and it'll be there waiting for me. So I can get this stuff hand delivered right to my inbox. So remember that morning routine that we talked about where you can check your email, check your coffee, getting ready to do your tweets. You're already checking your email anyway. There's this alert from Google right there delivering whatever content. Maybe you talk about social media marketing, right? Oops, sorry, let me go back one. Social media marketing. Sorry, let me plug that in again. Not hit enter this time. And let's see, it's going to load. Anyway, it's briefly popped up. But my point is this, is you can find great content no matter what it is that you tweet about, whatever your personal brand is. And you can, let's try this. Let's change up the search term. Here we go. So social marketing for SEO. Tim Rubin, why RO, return on relationship, makes marketing dollars, da-da-da. All sorts of good stuff, right? Tips for guiding email marketing vendor selection. These are all how to lose followers by posting inspirational quotes. Yes, I'm not a big fan of the inspirational quotes ad nauseum. Once in a while, maybe. But here you go. 9 types of Facebook user infographics. You name it, you can find great content, and it'll be hand delivered into your email inbox every single day or every week or whatever it is, and it's a great way to find content. You can also use LinkedIn's homepage. LinkedIn Today has a fabulous content curation feature in that it shares the articles that are being shared most often by your LinkedIn connections that day. I make that my morning newspaper, actually. I go out, it's very visual, they've got great images, it tells me who shared it and how much and where it's trending and all sorts of stuff, and I find great content there as well. So if you're looking for easy ways to find stuff to share with your Twitter audience, this is a fabulous tool. LinkedIn Today is another fabulous tool. Back to this, to kind of wrap up, and we can do some demos if we want, but just to wrap up, as is my recommendation for all things social media, whether that be LinkedIn or Facebook or Google Plus or Twitter, it's always best to give first. If you give to your network and you offer to help other people and you're generous, you will get so much more in return. I've met a ton of wonderful people through Twitter, and many of whom have kind of turned into real life friends or business contacts, and that happens all day long on Twitter. I really believe in this. So if you remember to kind of dig your well before you're thirsty and kind of be proactive in your networking before you actually need it, help others first, pay it forward, all this kind of stuff. You know, the best rule of thumb is don't focus on doing social so much, just focus on being social, right? There's good old Frank the Tank. You gotta have him in my deck too every time. Anyway, the point is just be social, be personable, give, share, say thank you, all these nice things that your mom taught you as a kid, and you're gonna be really effective on social media. That's my 2 cents. So, shall we do any demos or anything? Tyler, how do you want to run with this? We're doing okay on time.
Yeah, we're doing great on time. Let's do some of the questions that came in, and maybe you can demo from some of that if people
great.
have it. So one of the first ones was someone said that they really liked your Twitter clone advice. They said it makes sense. Do you use a specific Twitter client or an app for that?
Okay. I will show you guys how to do it manually. I also I've also used the whole Scoreboard Social tool to run some reports for me, and it actually will run reports on several of my competitors or several of my clones or whatever you want to call it. I don't think of these folks as competition. I think of these folks as friends and collaborators, but whatever you want to call it, you can absolutely go in if you do have true competitors and do the same thing and poach, if you will. It sounds unsavory, but you know, at the end of the day, you're all trying to talk to the same types of folks, and you're all sharing the same content. So, you know, I believe in the law of abundance. There's plenty of work for all of us out there, you know. So I don't view it as competing per se. But let me show you how I do it manually, and then we can talk a little bit about how I did the same thing using this Scoreboard Social reporting mechanism as well. So here's how you can do it. There is a wonderful blog out of the UK that is specific. Whoops, sorry, not this one. Undercover. Okay, here we go. There's a wonderful blog out of the UK. It's all about recruiting and job search and career and social and all sorts of stuff. They've got a lot more followers than me. I've got almost 20,000 followers. They've got 3 times that many and more. So they get a lot of engagement. They tweet a lot too, right? So what I do, and this is very, very manual process per se, or perhaps, but check this out. So I will take all of their tweets and I'll kind of go through and I will expand just to see who has engaged with them for each tweet. I love Jorgen. I actually blog for this blog, so technically I'm a partner and not a competitor to this blog. I actually blog for them. So, but they get a lot of great activity on Twitter and a lot of interaction. So I would go through and do it this way. So what I will do is I will look and see who has retweeted them, and I'll go through and follow. You can actually take time to pull up each profile and look at them and decide and all that. I'm just, for demonstration purposes, showing you. Here's some people that have favorited some of their tweets. And here's somebody else, this one we just saw a second ago. Go up here. One retweet, this person retweeted, I'm already following. 2 favorites. This is just a way, again, you can take the time to actually look at each of these people and make sure that they're in line, but if they like Undercover Recruiters content, I'm convinced that they will like my content because we talk about all of the exact same types of things. In fact, I just shared an update on my Facebook company page for Tenfold Social. I shared a picture, and then 2 minutes later, Undercover Recruiter took that and shared it on their Facebook page, and they credited me, of course, but we share the exact same content, and they share my stuff, and I share theirs. So long story short, you can kind of go in here and see what I'm doing, just going through and following the people that retweet them. And they've already got one new one since I started clicking, and they've already got a retweet.
So Stacey, I have a question on this, or a follow-up question here that I've seen other people come in here on the chat with as well.
Yeah.
So if you do this, then how much time do you let go before maybe you would use, I'm assuming, Social Bro and then unfollow them if they haven't followed you back? Do you
I use social. Or? Yeah, I usually I kind of do these things in patterns. I use Social Bro about once every week or two, and I kind of go through. And what I'll do is I will unfollow on Social Bro first, then I'll go out and do a whole bunch of following type activities, and then I'll wait a week or two. And if they haven't followed me back in a week or two, then I know that they're probably not going to, or they forgot, or whatever, they got busy, or whatever. But I typically unfollow and then follow, because if you do it the other way around, you follow a bunch of people and then it looks like they haven't followed you back yet, but it was only a minute apart or an hour apart, then you're missing it. So I kind of do things cyclically in that I will do my unfollows and then I'll go out and follow a bunch of folks after that, then wait a week or two and then see kind of where we are. Most of the time I get follow backs and that's good. But yeah, so this is the tool here. Let me see if I can find the Social Bro thing that's really cool is if I can get this to pull up here real quick. I mean, sorry, the Social Bro. The Scoreboard Social tool that's interesting. I can find my report. I can't do this on the fly sometimes. I thought I had it pulled up, and for that I apologize. I guess not. But yeah, it actually will highlight for you the top 3 or 5 tweets from your competitors or your competition or whoever it is that you're monitoring. It'll tell you their top 3 or 5 tweets for the week or for whatever time period you run the report on. And so if I click on those specifically, that person might have gotten 17 retweets. So there I get 17 followers. I'm not manually opening all the tweets. I'm just going to the ones that got the most engagement, the most activity, and I can follow 25 people per tweet times 3 or 4 tweets. So just with a few clicks, I can gain 100 new people to follow. And they're not just followers, they're really active, they're engaged, they've been online in the last week, and they like my content because they like that person's content. So Excellent. That's a very cool thing. It's much more focused that way. I like focused and targeted.
Let's see here. Other questions. One wants to know, what are some tips you have for writing the best Twitter profile bio?
Okay, yeah, that's good. I think that one of the best practices, of course, for a Twitter bio is to absolutely have a profile picture. Even if you're a company, I actually recommend that you use a picture of a person. People don't like to follow logos. They don't like to follow icons, or they want to follow a person, and that's why I tweet as Stacey. I don't tweet as Tenfold. They really like to engage with an actual person. That's my recommendation, is to put a picture up there. You don't want to have the egghead, right? You don't want to protect your tweets. That's another thing. But that you don't want to have people have to request to follow you. If you're tweeting, you want to be followed, right? Unless you're tweeting super secret stuff, which I don't know is probably not the mainstream. What else? Think about keywords, right? Think about who is your target audience? Who do you want to be following you on Twitter, right? If you want a certain demographic to be following you, whether you are looking for clients, whether you're looking for candidates, whether you're a technical recruiter, whether you're in sales and you sell pharmaceuticals and you're looking for doctors, or whatever it is, whoever your target audience is, what words might they use to search to find people to follow? What words would your audience use to find people to follow? Those are the keywords that you absolutely need to have in your Twitter bio. My Twitter bio is very targeted. I like using up as many of the characters as you can, because otherwise, this is free SEO, right? So the more optimized your keywords are in your bio, the better off you'll be. So I have my tagline, for which I'm best known. I have my title. I have the name of my company, which is important for me. Social media training for recruiters and talent acquisition teams. So I've got the word social media, I've got the word social in there twice. I've got recruiters in there, I've got talent acquisition in there. I mentioned my blog, which is different from my company, so I've got both of those in there. By the way, guys, I have tons and tons and tons of free LinkedIn, networking, Twitter tips, all sorts of stuff in my blog. I give all this stuff away for free. Even though I run a training business, I don't keep anything to myself. I believe if you put it all out there, folks will want to hear more. So everything that I know, I share freely on my blog. So check it out. I don't get paid to run my blog or anything. Just give it away. So check it out. If you like what you see, great. If you don't, that's okay too. Check it out. There's lots and lots of free tips and tricks out there. That's where I share everything that I know and I do. So, but yeah, I put my blog there, and then I keyword optimize my location as best I could too. I write San Diego, I write OC for Orange County, SoCal, I write CA for California. This is all, I'm just trying to think keyword wise. So think about what keywords your target audience might plug in. Mine would probably plug in social media training, social media recruiter training, whatever. So I'm trying to be careful about those in my bio. So hopefully that helps.
It's good stuff. Someone here, since obviously you being the most connected female on LinkedIn, this is kind of a LinkedIn Twitter question here.
It's okay.
They want to know about how would you go about turning your LinkedIn network into Twitter followers? This person in particular has 28,000 plus first level LinkedIn connections. How do they connect that?
Okay. Yeah, I think that social media is all about, like I said, it's all about relationships. It's all about networking. It's all about, building relationships and nurturing those, whether you might meet the person on Twitter, but then you end up connecting with them on LinkedIn. I'm a big fan for that, or meeting someone on social media and then turning it into an in real life connection. Or I find candidates on LinkedIn, but I might email them through email or tweet them on Twitter and get a higher response rate. I'm all about, I call it the social media Legos, right? If you take your LinkedIn Lego and your Twitter Lego and you stack them on top of each other, you get an even better Lego, right? So for me, to answer that question, what I would do is absolutely kind of cross promote, right? If you want to get more Twitter followers, or if you want to get more LinkedIn connections, talk about those things on your Twitter. Let's say I wanted more LinkedIn. Here's something that I do personally. I like to drive folks to my LinkedIn. So I actually will, here's something that goes along with my brand, right? The nerd thing, But I'll have let's link up. And I tweeted this out, and I put this picture there, and I wrote, "Are we not yet connected on LinkedIn? Let me know, and I'll send you an invite." And then there's a link to my one-click invite link. If you click that, it'll take you to my LinkedIn invitation page specifically. And then here's the twit pic, and then I write LinkedIn, one-click, invite. All of a sudden, if it's one of the 6 most recent things that I've tweeted, it will actually, and I usually refresh it every once in a while, but it will be up there, right? So it'll be, this is the thing I shared this morning. I love it. Anyway, I'm so ADD, I can't look at this and talk at the same time. But but you can actually drive your Twitter followers to link up with you, and the same thing on LinkedIn. You can put a status update and say, hey, I'm just getting started on Twitter. I really love Twitter. So much cool, great engagement and meeting new people happening there. Are we following each other yet on Twitter? And put a link to your Twitter page and drive people there. Another fabulous, fabulous tool, which is completely off topic in a Twitter conversation or a little bit off topic, is there's this new thing called LinkedIn Contacts. And LinkedIn Contacts, it's free to everybody, whether you have the paid account or the basic account or the upgraded account. It will actually import all of your connections from your Gmail, your Twitter, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Hotmail, your Yahoo, your Outlook, all your contacts from all these other places, Evernote, TripIt, you name it, put it all in one place for you, and then you can actually go through and it'll tell you you're connected to this person on LinkedIn, and your Facebook friends, but you're not on their Twitter, and it'll gray that icon out and tell you that there's a missed connection. So you can go through and follow them on Twitter. Same thing. This person's your Twitter friend and your Facebook friend, but oops, you're not connected on LinkedIn. And it helps you kind of connect all those dots and make sure that you may not want to be Facebook friends with every one of your LinkedIn connections, but chances are you probably want to be LinkedIn connections with each of your Facebook friends, minus Aunt Sally and Grandma, right? So that's a nice way also to kind of cross-promote, cross-connect, make sure that you're not missing, you're connecting all those dots.
Good stuff.
LinkedIn contacts, yeah, my favorite thing ever. It's still a little buggy. It has not rolled out for everyone. If you don't have it yet, don't worry, it's coming. But it's absolutely the best thing since sliced bread, in my opinion, especially if you like social. So
here's another following question. So this person is asking if there's any way besides just randomly following people or other people, how can one grow their Twitter following without doing that following tactic?
How can you make people follow you? The best way to get people to follow you is to follow them first. And I know that doesn't sound like the best answer in the world. The other thing, that's an easy kind of low-lying fruit sort of answer. Maybe another way to get good followers, I don't follow everybody back yet anymore. I used to, and now I don't necessarily. I'm trying to be a little bit more focused. But another great way to get Twitter followers is to blog, right? Content marketing. If you blog and you have great content going out in your blog, people will follow you. They're going to want to hear what you have to say. So people will follow you even if you aren't following them first or following them back. The better your content that you share, whether it's on blog or if you on LinkedIn or on Twitter or wherever, if people want to hear what you have to say, they will follow you. Look at some of these big names that have millions of followers and they're following 300 people, right? People want to hear what this person has to say, whether they are following back or not. So the better your content, the more informational, educational, entertaining you are, whatever itch you're scratching for that person, Robin Williams, or if you're, Guy Kawasaki, whatever it is, if your content is great, people will follow you. And blogging is another great way to get your name and your content and your word out there, so your name out there. So
good. Here's another question we have. What kind of things should someone retweet? This is all new to me, is what they said.
No, that's okay. I know that this isn't definitely not a beginner Twitter class. This is more an intermediate / advanced. But what sort of stuff should you retweet? Anything that you think is good and is worth other people knowing about, right? You've read it, and if you retweet it, now you're sharing it with everyone that's listening to you. So if it's good enough for you to read and you enjoyed it and you think it's valuable stuff and it's relevant to your audience, then you should share it, right? So it's pretty straightforward stuff. It's kind of like I said, don't worry about doing social, just be social, right? If you think this is something that the next guy could benefit from, go ahead and share it. That's all a retweet is. Again, be mindful of your brand and your audience. I might not tweet about politics. I might not tweet about religion. These are things that I don't want to mess up my brand by getting too involved in either of those topics. But if it's something that's in line with your brand and it makes sense from a professional, personal standpoint, and it's good stuff, then absolutely, that's retweet worthy, right?
Yep. All right. There's one last question here, which we'll get to in a second because I think it's a good one to end with. But before we get there, just wanted to give a reminder again for Scoreboard Social. One of the tactics that Stacy did mention in there was to find engaging users who are following your competitors or top brands or relevant Twitter handles, for example. And so Scoreboard Social is a great tool to use that. But and we will be sending out a recap email with more information. And just so everybody knows, all plans are free for the first 30 days. But then we'll end with this last question here. And basically, they were just saying if you could kind of do a quick rundown of all the web apps that you recommended earlier in this webinar.
Okay, sure. We've got Hootsuite, and that's at hootsuite.com. You can, or just write it down and Google it. You'll find it, Hootsuite. This is kind of what it looks like, right? So you can see all your engagement, you can see all your sent tweets, all your pending items, that kind of thing. This is your home feed. You can set up other tabs. You can do the little plug-in, right? Let's pretend I'm reading a really great article. Let's pretend this is a great article. Sorry, that's not an article. That's a hashtag. This is a slide share. Let's pretend I want to share this slide share, whatever it's about. I don't think I would share this one. Check this out. You click one button, it pulls up the name, it pulls up the link, I can write whatever I want, and I can schedule it to go out now or later. Pretty cool stuff. So that's Hootsuite, right? Hootsuite. Same thing as Buffer. Buffer does the same thing. It has this nice little button. It'll allow me to share whatever I want. Here's a link to Hootsuite, blah, blah, blah. I can share it, talk about it, whatever. Okay?
And Buffer, just last week, so people know, they did now also add the function where you can actually schedule like tweets to go out exact times. So
this is true. This Buffer is doing all sorts of good stuff. They're letting you, yeah, I like both of these tools immensely, and I use them in different ways. But yeah, they do a lot of the same things. The second tool is called Social Bro. This is what Social Bro looks like. And it will allow you to, here we go, let me real quick do my account. It has a nice little dashboard on here, real quick. Tells me how I had 15,000 followers back in January. Now I'm up to almost 20,000. Real-time analytics. It'll email you the best time to tweet when most of your people are online. It'll tell you all the people that, the famous people that you're following, the famous people that are following you, all that good stuff. So good stuff here. It'll allow you to search for new people to follow. You can kind of plug that in. That's Social Bro. This is an extension on Chrome that allows it to be free. If you get the desktop version, it is paid. And then Twitter Feed is the last one, or not the last one, I guess Google Alerts will be. TwitterFeed.com. This is a way to take some of your favorite blogs and kind of push them out to your Twitter. And then last but not least is google.com/alerts, Google Alerts, and you can make it, you can set up 100 of these if you wanted to on any number of topics and have content to share at any given time with your audience and make it really pain-free. I personally recommend taking 20 minutes on a Sunday night or a Monday morning and actually find a whole bunch of content that will go out that week. That way you can't procrastinate it or forget it, or it's, life gets too busy. I take 20 minutes at the beginning of the week, schedule out a whole bunch of tweets to go out that week. I read all the articles, pick my favorite ones, schedule for the week, and then I go in 5 minutes, 10 minutes in the morning, 5 or 10 minutes in the afternoon, and engage and thank people and retweet them and share. And as I see new stuff, I keep it coming in real time by using these little Buffer applets and things. So that's what I think is the best Twitter strategy if you're going to be really efficient and time managed but still dedicated to it.
Great stuff. Actually, we had one last question that just came in. I feel bad if we don't get to it. So let's answer this last one coming in from Claudia. How do you respond to repetitive mentions that are not relevant to your brand?
Oh, okay. Well, I don't think a mention is ever a bad thing unless it's harassing. If they're mentioning you a lot and you're like, well, if they're mentioning you or they're talking about you, that's a good thing, because now all their audience and their followers know about you and they might check you out. Sharing is not a bad thing. When you say repeated and they're not on target with your brand, if they're spamming you, they're like, hey, check out my new product, and then they're mentioning you with a link, that's spam. You should absolutely go in and block that person. This poor Andrea, I'm not actually going to block her, but if I wanted to, here's how I would do it. You just go in here and you can actually report her for spam, which will automatically block her as well. Or you can straight up block that person so that they're not able to tweet, so that person is blocked from following you. They can still read your stuff. It's not like a Facebook block where you disappear entirely, but they can't engage with you the same way. So if they're just spammers, and there's a lot of spam out there on Twitter, folks, be aware. It's not 100% clean. In fact, I never click on a link in a direct message in my my Twitter inbox. I never click on any links in my inbox. Never, because it's full of viruses. People are going to tell you, oh, I saw this picture of you, or why did you say this, or did you see this funny video of you? It's all a trick. Do not click these things. They're all viruses and spam. I click stuff in my regular Twitter, but I don't click any. If you can't tweet it to me outright and you have to hide it in my inbox, then it's probably not safe. So just so you know, that's a little tip to the wise right there. Do not click on any links, even if it looks entirely legit. Ask the person to, hey, can you send me that in some other way? Is that real? And they'll probably be like, oh, I didn't send that. Yeah, because they got hacked.
It's really sad, but the direct message in Twitter is just kind of like a
It's
waste.
pointless. I
It
think they
is.
should just get rid of it, right? If you want to say something to someone, say it out in the open. That's what Twitter's for.
Well,
So
more
anyway.
people actually put out their emails in the in their public tweets, and then that's how you get direct messages to people nowadays. But
I just exactly. My email is everywhere now. I don't even hide it. You guys saw me. I shared it just now. So it is. If you want to reach me, there's a million and one ways. Why hide any one of them now and more than the others? So anyway.
good stuff. Well,
Awesome.
Stacy,
This has been. Thank you so much, Tyler. This has been great.
no, this has been awesome. We really appreciate you jumping on our webinar, and I hope everybody got a lot out of it. We, of course, are recording this, so we will be sending out a link. So in case you missed anything, or if you had to jump off early, or you want to go back and take some good notes from it, we will have a video that will be available. So be sure to check your emails for that. And again, next month we're going to do another webinar, and we're going to have Josh Parkinson from Post Planner talking Facebook engagement. So again, we appreciate you guys checking us out today. Thank you, Stacy, and we will all talk to you soon.
Thank you. Thanks for joining, everybody.
All right.